It's Jackie New. I'm the truth. I want to talk about our left and our right brain. They done told y'all that y'all only use 10% of y'all brain and the rest is dark matter. You know what they really mean? The fact that most people only use portions of their left brain consciously. And for the most part, the right brain is on autopilot. But meanwhile, we have access to both sides of this brain. We have access to all realms of this reality, which will lead us to even further realms and make us be aware of so much more. So when people talking about mental gymnastics, this is what they talking about, really using both left and right sides of the brain simultaneously like we're supposed to. Being able to utilize and being aware of both sides of life and your perception, or the left and right brain, will give you so many more options in life. It'll show you options you didn't know you had. It'll allow you to think of things however you choose. Instead of having to feel some type of way based off of what the world knows you to respond like, it'll lead you to more potentials for more outcomes. Once you turn the light on and you see that what you thought was the boogeyman was just a shadow of your jacket, and you gain more of an understanding of what's actually going on, you're no longer afraid. You no longer are hurt or confused as to how you're supposed to feel. See, your thoughts and your feelings have to come into alignment. So say a person dies. If you were to understand that death is something that we spirits are supposed to do, something we've already have experienced, something that we do every day and will continue to do, is nothing but a transition. The progression of each transition will lead to the outcome of what we are now experiencing in the current transition. So when a person dies, they're just transitioning to another portion of their experience. Whether you want to call it life or death, or waking up in the morning or going to sleep at night, these transitions energetically are the same. Just by knowing that, if you apply this in your mindsets when you are analyzing and processing certain situations in your life, you can choose the way you want to look at these situations, which will give you the ability to shape and mold these scenarios however you like to a certain degree. You will have a better grasp over the control that you have in your actual reality and how it plays out. Starting with looking at your position versus another's position. Then switch spaces and look at your position as if you are in the other position. Let's expand even more and look from an observer's perspective or an onlooker's perspective. Now, let's take our emotions out of it and look at it from a logical perspective. All right? So now let's just take the logic, don't even think about what's going on, and tap into what we're feeling and how it feels to us on the internal. See, this is when you're going to be expanding in the dimensions of how you're able to process reality, which is going to expand you as an individual. At this point, different systems in your body, different chakra systems will begin to become evoked and activated. And that's when you're experiencing consciously your multi-dimensions. We're experiencing these things all the time. But do we know it? No. Now you will be conscious of this where others aren't. And now you have even more to work with on your canvas. And if you know what you're doing, you can make a beautiful creation. At this point, your intuition has kicked on. And it's not one of those intuitive things that you're not knowing what's going on in the moment. It's intuition that you're consciously seeing and analyzing as information. Being aware of more angles. Due to you using more than just the physical 5 senses that we have, you've inverted those senses, and now you can use those same senses on the other plane as well, interpreting them precisely for what it is. You can smell shit and smell it for what it is from the right brain's perspective. You can feel when a storm is coming. From an external perspective, you can look at the clouds, but from an internal perspective, you will be able to feel the storm coming. And if you're really tapped in, you can know where it's coming from and why is it happening, and maybe can change the point or the outcome or the reasoning behind the storm or whatever, or the gift. You can feel when your breakthrough is about to happen. And you don't have to be afraid of the breakthrough. No, you can know what the hell you're doing and prepare with intentions and expect it. That's the only time that you can expect something, is when you have no expectations, but know the energy is what it is. Because you can know. Just like you do life. Just like you see things for exactly what it is. And at this point, we're all doing that. There's not much you can get away with anymore. We're already in that realm. The old world has already died. If you're only using portions of your left brain, because you can't even use your entire left brain without even consciously knowing what you're doing in your right brain. But if you're only using portions of your left brain, we can only relate to one another and conversate and have an agreement on the things that we can see. But when it goes beyond the things that we can see and the things that we can know, that's where things will split, and you will have a belief and a hope and a prayer, whereas others that can see will have a knowing. And I already have an awareness of the energies that led up to the current energy, putting them in a position to be more mentally and emotionally prepared for whatever outcomes and events that are to come, and that we've also created individually and collectively. This is what has always been shaping reality and the life that we are experiencing currently and have experienced previously. These things happen through the natural order of things, through the universal laws. That just is what it is, as above, so below, as within, so without. The first will be last, the last will be first. The youngest is the oldest can be the youngest, and all ways in between, all sorts of variations of that. But the point is, how? What is it that we're actually doing, and how are we supposed to do it? How have we been doing it? Do we know what the hell we doing? So what you do is just pay attention to yourself first. Pay attention to the different transitions that happen in your own moods, in your own mind. And then pay attention to the correspondence of how these internal events shape and mold the external events that we experience with others in our physical reality. And I know it's hard to look at yourself and to realize at some point that you're your own detriment, but you'll have to do that shadow work in order. That's just the process and how you cut the light on and see that it was nothing. You first have to push through the fear and look at it for what it is without any judgment and any biases too at some point. It's like training a child. You're training your man and woman, your girls and your boys, your feminine and your masculine energies within. And you didn't know that was the point. So now you know, get with the program. Because this is what's going to give you control over your life and over your mind and over your spirit and over your next realities and over your transitions and the next cycle and how they transition into whatever cycle that you create and shape. This is how you control that. You have to go through these things first. You can think you can control these things from the external realm by getting jobs and staying on certain routines that the world and the status quo orchestrates for us. But at this point, you should realize and know by now it's not fulfilling you in ways that you don't even realize you're supposed to be fulfilled in yet. But it will take the work. Just like life is an uphill battle, just period. How these energies interact with the external world and whatever energies are interacting and it is in your space is going to determine the outcome. So your woman, your emotions is what sets the vibe. And your man, your masculine, your thoughts, your thought base is what sets the scene, shapes the happenings and the actions taken and what you do outwardly. Now, at that point, once you realize this shit with yourself though, on your own time, start paying attention to whatever synchronicities that happen simultaneously or whatever feelings these synchronicities that you notice evoke. Whatever kind of synchronicity, it don't matter. It could be something that that has to be a coincidence. No, it never is. So just know that also. You have to put these things together simultaneously, the false and the truth, the darkness and the light. You got to bring these things together to make a product. 1 + 1 = 3. And then you'll start noticing how you directly are affecting whatever transitions that you go through throughout the day. And whatever transitions that you journey through daily, weekly, routinely, these are what turns into the events and the entire life journey overall, the entire life. So pay attention to the synchronicities, like seeing certain images that draw you to a memory that you just had or a thought that was kind of significant. And being aware of the emotion behind it or the vibe behind it and how that is shaping your behavior and your internal world at that moment. Because this is how your feminine is provoking the masculine and the emotions is being activated in a subtle way that you can actually pay attention to and control too. And once you pay attention to them, your man can rationalize with your woman then. Your thoughts can make sense and help your emotions to deal with things logically and balanced. Or we can sum it up to the allegory of the left and right brain. Yeah, I said allegory. Now, if your spirit can just pay attention to these dual energies itself, just the dual energies within you, and go a step further in the external and observing others. So if your spirit can clearly see these dual natures within yourself and within the world around you, you can then spiritually, as a spirit, puppeteer your own reality and your own beingness. And you will have to be aware of the spirit and your left and right, internal, external, masculine, feminine energy. You will have to be aware of yourself and the wholeness. 1 + 1 = 3. Feminine and masculine lead to the creation, the outcome, the third dimension, the physical surrounding, the experience. When you're astral traveling in your mind, daydreaming and picturing and creating things on the internal realm, your emotions is what is going to set the vibe, and these synchronicities and these events play out to whatever degrees they play out in the external. And this is why it's important to pay attention to your emotions. Having thoughts that provoke certain emotions of fear or of hate or of jealousy, you need to limit creating those things in the internal, because you're setting the vibe of whatever synchronicities that's not going to even look like that is going to end up playing out in your reality. So let's set the vibe according to what it is that you truly desire. But you got to be tapped into you to even know what that is. And whenever you're in your feelings and your emotions, don't shut down and not be logical and listen to your man, your masculine energies, because that's what's going to help you analyze the situation and will allow your emotions to react out of emotions in a balanced way that is not doing too much, but it's doing enough and making itself understood, because it has the support and the guidance of the masculine energy or the logic or their thoughts. This is your own internal masculine and feminine energies first. And this is what's going to also determine the details and how these things externally play out, the way they're going to look, the effect on your life they're about to get ready to have, the way others is going to see your situation and see you based off of this situation that's not even seemingly related to the next. So for the masculine energy, you can't be too far deep off up into your feelings to where you're allowing your masculine energy to be the bitch, because the female, the woman, is ruling it and telling it how to do and what to create and how to look. No, you have a little order. There is a meeting space to where both things are considered and is valued and it is important and is played out, feminine and masculine energies, the emotions and the thoughts, however you want to look at it. Either way it goes, because as above, so below, these things already are and they have always been. And once you realize that, you can turn that, what you think is hell, into a heaven. This is how the natural order of things are supposed to go. This is just what is, or what you would want to call God, I guess. But I wouldn't give it a title, because that's when the lines become blurred. And now where your power is, you have put it in a word and an expectation that only you can fulfill. Well, really, we are what makes all of this up. On a micro scale, that would be your own individual experience and the reality that you journey through. We've got to start being aware of both of our feminine and masculine energies. We've got to become more self-aware of what we are doing in this human existence. So to clarify it even further, because I need y'all to get this, the right brain is not necessarily pointing to the physical right brain. It's pointing to the system that the right brain is going to operate and supervise, and becoming aware of those things. The right brain is the overseer of our internal realm. The subtle, deep subconscious awarenesses that we can have, because they exist. Whether you're aware of something or not doesn't make it not exist. So these dimensions within you exist, and there's a space that you can become aware of. This is the space of what you already know and what you've always known. The God space, the unseen, because y'all think that things that you can't see is God all the time. So let's just say the God space. The yin, the moon, the void, the darkness, the negative. While the masculine is pointing to the left brain, what you can learn and know, what you see, the experience, the big bang, the explosion, the happening, the yang, the light, and your beastly natures, your beast. That's what the yang masculine energies point to. These things, neither way, are good or bad. The starting point is to understand the natures thereof. And then the experiences as a human, you can dictate from moment to moment what is good and bad for you right then and there. But that changes as well. Transitions, let's keep up. And when we notice these transitionings and these happenings internally and externally, and these cycles that happens every day that turns into the events that we experience, and that is being energetically influenced by the overall wider transition and cycle that we are within, and we can understand the correspondences thereof, now we're doing something. See, as above, so below. So we can experience and witness transitions and how they operate a lot simpler when we look in the external realm from us. That's just like seeing someone from a distance, but being able to see the entire thing, but not really seeing it for what it is, because you can just see from your perception. But if we were able to zoom in and see from the inward space and how simultaneously with our external perspective from afar, then we can actually know what's going on and be a witness and a partaker of the overall experience, just period. Whether it's a small event or a significant event. The point is, what is it that you are creating? Because we're doing this either way it goes, or we're not participating, we're not doing anything with the whole journey in its entirety to our best potential, because we're not utilizing or even aware of the different angles and dimensions and portions and versions and options that we have that's right in front of us within our mind's eye. And pretty much that's what as above so below means. All things are the same. You have potential at this moment that you might not even be aware of. And the point is to become aware of these things so that we can utilize them and expand the world and our experience, because the experience never stops. There's no such thing as death and it's over. Or you just are rebirthing or transition to a whole new existence, just like when you are born. Do you remember that? When you wake up to your next reality, you won't remember being born there either. So when you become aware or wake up into your new reality, or become aware of a new ability and a new version of the experience, you won't remember the moment. All you know is wherever you find yourself, there you are. Because these things are simultaneous, and transition cycles, rebirth, and death happen continually, as above, so below. And as Uriel always says, it ain't what we do, but how we do what we're doing. You can only formulate how you do what you're doing when you understand what the hell's going on. These things already are, and they have always been. And once you realize that, you can turn that what you think is hell into a heaven. This is how the natural order of things are supposed to go. This is just what is, or what you would want to call God, I guess. But I wouldn't give it a title, because that's when the lines become blurred. And now where your power is, you have put it in a word and an expectation that only you can fulfill. When really, we are what makes all of this up. On a micro scale, that would be your own individual experience and the reality that you journey through. So in conclusion, when you know what you're doing, you're a bad mother